Let's spend a few moments talking about effects. An effect is very similar to our linked loop group that we did, our linked loops group of cues, only you don't have to put it in the cue list itself. You can record an effect onto a cue, but a little more easily is recording it onto a sub, which we'll take a look at both of those, or we'll take a look at recording it on the sub after we've created it. So the way we create an effect is we have to first go into the blind effect editor. So you double tap the effect key, and you'll notice on our on our display we have these 15 pre-built effects. These are for working with moving lights, and will be covered in a different tutorial. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new effect. So we're going to go effect 1, enter, and we're now asked what type of effect we want to create. Step-based is the one we're focusing on for this section. We select step-based, and we get a screen that is similar to some other consoles you may have worked with. We need to start by telling it how many steps, and then we assign some channels to that. So the way we do that is by selecting the step button, which is S1. So we select S1, and in this case we're going to create a nice small one. We're just going to use 5 steps for 5 channels. So 1 through 5, enter, create our 5 steps. Then using our arrow keys, we arrow to the right, and we now select channels, 1 through 5, and it'll auto-populate. If you'd selected more channels, it would have wrapped them back in. You can arrow right again and start editing time. We're just going to leave it at our 1 second default for now, but know that you can go through and create and play around with the step time, the in fade. Dwell is how long the individual step will hold. Decay is how long it'll fade out. On is how high the channels will fade to, and off is how low they'll fade. So you can create a lot of different things by kind of experimenting with this. We come back to live. We do have to have our channels selected to execute the effect. So we select 1 through 5, effect 1, enter, and you'll notice up on our channel display that effect 1 is now running, and you can see the channels fading from one to the next. Very similar to what would have happened if we had done our link looped and only done one cue at a time, but this is a lot faster and easier to get going. Now, the way we start using this is we might want to record it onto one of our fader buttons, or one of our submaster buttons. So our effect is running, and what we want to do now is record it onto one of our handles. Remember that this is sub 41, which makes this sub handle 51. So the way we do that is, there's a couple of extra steps rather than just using the bump button. So with the effect running, we do record sub, and we need to change the type of sub that this is. And the way we do that is by using S1. You'll notice down here on the display where it says mode, and we need to change it to an effect sub. Oh, we have the wrong number in there, so let's go back to 51, and then go mode, inhibitive. Effect sub is what we're looking for, but I'm going to demonstrate that it cycles through and goes to additive, and then back to inhibitive and effect sub. And effect sub is what we want. So now we're telling the console that this sub will be an effect sub, and the effect is already running, so we simply hit enter, and now we've recorded that. So now in order to demonstrate how that's going to work, we're going to do a sneak enter to turn our effect off. Now, as a reminder, you run a standard sub up and down, and the channel intensities come up with that. The difference with an effect sub is when you run the handle up without doing anything else, nothing happens at the moment. The reason for that is it gives us the ability to start and stop the effect, and then, if we want, fade into it. So by hitting the bump button, you'll notice that on the channel display it says E1 and a bunch of zeros. The effect is running, but we have our intensities down, which is what the fader is doing for us. So as we run the fader up, the effect fades in. And we can fade the effect out by pulling the handle down. We can accomplish the same thing if we hit the bump button again, which stops the effect. If we leave the handle up, we can simply start the effect and stop the effect by jumping right in and out of it. So you have a couple of different ways to handle it. So that's kind of a way to work with effects.